The desert stretched endlessly, a canvas of darkness under a silent sky. Sand, cold and unforgiving, crunched underfoot. A chill wind howled, carrying whispers of forgotten things. Two figures, silhouetted against the moon, trekked deeper into the night. Their names were Kaya and Ben, siblings drawn to this desolate place by a shared history. Their grandfather, a renowned archaeologist, had vanished here years ago. Now, armed with his tattered journal and a flickering lantern, they sought answers. The wind picked up, swirling around them like a restless spirit. It seemed to whisper, to moan, to carry voices on its breath. Kaya shivered, pulling her thin shawl tighter. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice barely a murmur. Ben, his gaze fixed on the horizon, shook his head. "Just the wind, Kaya. Don't let it get to you." But his voice lacked conviction. He too felt the unease, the sense of being watched by unseen eyes. The journal spoke of an oasis, a place of legend swallowed by the desert. Their grandfather believed it held the key to a lost civilization, a civilization whispered to possess unimaginable power. As they walked, Kaya couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. Hours later, or perhaps days, they stumbled upon it. Their journey had been grueling, the relentless sun beating down on them during the day and the freezing cold gripping them at night. They had almost given up hope, their bodies and spirits equally drained. A cluster of withered palm trees, their fronds like skeletal fingers against the moonlight. The sight was both eerie and strangely beautiful, a stark reminder of the oasis's former glory. The air hung heavy and still, a stark contrast to the relentless wind that had driven them here. The silence was unnerving, as if the desert itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. "This is it," Ben said, his voice hushed with awe. He could hardly believe they'd found it, the place that had been the subject of so many legends and whispered tales. The lantern light flickered, casting grotesque shadows that danced and writhed around them. Each shadow seemed to tell a story, a fragment of the past brought to life by the wavering light. As they moved deeper into the oasis, the temperature dropped, a sudden unnatural chill that seeped into their bones. It was as if the oasis itself was warning them, urging them to turn back. The ground was littered with crumbling ruins, remnants of a forgotten time. Each ruin told a story of a once thriving community, now lost to the sands of time. Broken pottery, weathered stone carvings, and the ghostly outlines of buildings whispered of a once thriving community. The artifacts were a testament to the lives that had once flourished here, now reduced to mere shadows of their former selves. But now an oppressive silence hung over the place, broken only by the beating of their own hearts. The silence was so profound that it seemed to amplify their every movement, every breath, making them acutely aware of their own presence in this desolate place. They set up camp at the base of a crumbling archway, its surface covered in strange symbols. As Kaya unpacked their meager supplies, she noticed something out of the corner of her eye. Faces peering at them from the shadows. She spun around, heart pounding, but the shadows remained just that, shadows. "Ben," she whispered, her voice tight with fear, "I keep seeing things, faces in the dark." Her brother, his face etched with concern, squeezed her hand reassuringly. "It's just your imagination, Kaya," he said, though his voice lacked confidence. He knew the desert played tricks on the mind, especially at night, but even he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, their every move scrutinized by unseen observers. Section 5. The Heart of the Oasis. The next day they explored the ruins, guided by their grandfather's cryptic notes. They discovered a hidden chamber, its entrance concealed by fallen debris. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of dust and decay. The lantern light revealed walls adorned with intricate murals, depicting scenes of a vibrant, powerful civilization. And at the center of it all, a well. The well was ancient, its stone rim worn smooth by time. A set of worn stone steps spiraled down into its depths. Their grandfather's journal spoke of this well, claiming it as the key to the civilization's power, a conduit to something else. Section 6. ancient evil. Against his better judgment, Ben felt himself drawn to the edge of the well. As he peered into its depths, a cold wind swept up from the darkness, carrying with it a low, guttural whisper. The hair on the back of his neck stood on end. He leaned closer, straining to make sense of the whisper. It seemed to slither around him, weaving its way into his mind. Images flashed before his eyes, ancient rituals, sacrifices, power beyond human comprehension. And then, silence. He staggered back, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew then, with chilling certainty, that this place was not meant for them. This oasis, this well, it was tainted by something ancient and evil. Section 7. Lost and Found. Panic rising in his throat, Ben turned to warn Kaya, but she was gone. He called out her name, his voice echoing through the silent ruins. Silence. Despair gripped him. He had promised their parents he would keep her safe. Frantically he searched, his fear growing with each passing moment. He found her by the well, her eyes vacant, her body swaying slightly. She was mumbling, her words a string of incoherent whispers. And clutched in her hand was a small obsidian amulet, its surface cold and smooth. It pulsed with a faint internal light. As Ben watched in horror, the obsidian amulet began to glow brighter, bathing Kaya in an eerie, otherworldly light. The whispers grew louder, swirling around them like a vortex of madness. Section 8. The Price of Curiosity. Kaya! Ben's voice echoed through the desolate landscape, filled with desperation and fear. Ben lunged for his sister, his fingers brushing against hers. The moment their skin made contact, a strange sensation surged through him. The touch sent a jolt of icy energy through him, knocking him off his feet. He gasped, feeling the cold seep into his bones. He watched helplessly as she turned, her eyes, no longer her own, fixed on him with a chilling intensity. It was as if she was looking through him into another realm. "We are bound," she spoke, her voice distorted, echoing, no longer human. The words reverberated in the air, sending shivers down his spine. "The desert claims its due." The words hung heavy in the air, laden with an ancient curse. The amulet pulsed with unnatural light, casting grotesque shadows that danced and writhed around them. It seemed to be alive, feeding off their fear. The air crackled with energy. It was thick, almost tangible, making it hard to breathe. Ben scrambled back, his mind reeling. He couldn't comprehend what was happening, but he knew they had crossed a line. The whispers, the faces in the dark, the oppressive atmosphere of the oasis, it all made sense now. They had disturbed something that should have been left alone. This place was not just haunted, it was a conduit, a gateway to something ancient and terrible, a force beyond their understanding, and they, in their curiosity, had opened the door, a door that should have remained sealed for eternity. Section 9. Trapped. The ground beneath them rumbled, a deep, ominous sound that seemed to come from the very bowels of the earth. It was as if the desert itself was awakening from a long slumber, angry and vengeful. Cracks spiderwebbed across the floor, the ancient structure groaning in protest. Each fissure seemed to whisper secrets of a forgotten past, tales of power and ruin. Dust rained down from the ceiling as the well before them pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly light. The glow was hypnotic, drawing them in with its strange, almost sentient allure. The air grew thick with the stench of decay, a putrid reminder of the chamber's long-forgotten inhabitants. It was as if the very walls were exhaling centuries of death and despair. Kaya, still under the amulet's control, floated towards the well, her eyes glowing with unearthly power. She moved with a grace that was both beautiful and terrifying, as if she were a puppet on invisible strings. Ben, fear giving way to desperation, lunged for her, but an invisible force hurled him back against a wall. The impact knocked the wind out of him, leaving him gasping for breath and clutching his side in pain. "Kaya!" he screamed, his voice raw with fear and despair. The sound echoed through the chamber, a haunting cry that seemed to mock his helplessness, but his sister was gone, swallowed by the light emanating from the well. The brightness was blinding, erasing her from existence in a flash that left Ben's eyes burning. The ground shuddered one last time, and then silence. a deafening, oppressive silence that seemed to press down on Ben from all sides, suffocating him with its weight. Ben was alone, trapped in the heart of the oasis, the chilling laughter of the wind his only company. What had they unleashed? The question gnawed at him, a relentless torment that offered no answers. And what would become of him now? The future stretched out before him, a vast, empty expanse as desolate as the desert itself. He was left to ponder his fate, a solitary figure lost in a sea of sand and shadows.